All set. Welcome, everybody. This is our 41st workshop here at Pantheon's Music Academy. My name is Chris. I'll be your host. And today we have the privilege of bringing in Rowdy Banner with us. He is from Beyond Entertainment, and he's going to be going over the intricacies of how to go about by expanding your market, both in the physical and in the digital sense. To give you guys a little bit of context, Rowdy, owner of Beyond Entertainment, has done pretty much so much that you can already think of, from DJing to promoting, production, equipment rentals, artist management. Rowdy has learned the multiple moving parts of the music industry and everything that makes it tick. What he's going to be specifically going over is how he's gone about by creating the shows that he's created, the partnerships that he's developed, from working alongside Digital Ethos, Mr. Crisley, Leet, the Spicy Boys, and so many other artists. He's expanded that network, working with other companies such as After Dark, Good Vibes, Virtuosos, Baked Up, Lost Productions, Maxed Out, Good Vibes, and so many more. Without further ado, let's go ahead and give it up for Rowdy, and he'll take it away.
First of all, thank you guys so much for having me, and thanks to your team for taking care of me with some pizza, some drinks. It was really nice. I appreciate it. I think I want to have like a little bit of an intro here before we hop straight into how to expand your market. That's super general. We're gonna dive super deep into like marketing methods, and it'll be great. First, I just want to say, anything that you're trying to do with your life, literally no matter what it is, if like, I feel like a lot of you here might be trying to expand your market and this is going to be good for you, but no matter what you do, you just got to have your mind and your intentions right before you start doing anything at all. So you just got to figure out what it is that you want to do, set the goals to get to that spot, really focus on that, and like as long as you take care of those goals and you keep the effort up and you keep like all the way through time, you don't give up, like you'll get it. That's simple. It's math, you know what I'm saying? So that's my little intro. Just got to get those intentions flowing. Think about what you really want before you do it. Because if you don't want it, it probably is not going to happen. All right. So marketing. There's social media marketing and like what you can do on like the internet as far as social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. All of those social media platforms have multiple ways of getting like micro engagements. Like think about how Facebook they have stories, they have event pages, you can tag people. Those are all little features, and the more features that you can use on those platforms, the more of a reach you're going to get. Even if like 10 people view your stories, you know what I'm saying? That's 10 more than you had before you posted that on your story, straight up. Like you got to get, if you're trying to promote something, let's say you're a DJ and you have a show coming up, you're going to want to put that flyer for your show on every single platform that you can possibly think of. If you have friends, that like the best, I'll tell this is key right here. Face-to-face promo and personal promo comes pretty much before anything. Because it's easy, it's really easy to put a flyer up on your Instagram story, your Facebook story, make a Facebook post, put it in the event page. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff is honestly just like click. The stuff that's really hard, that's going to get you super far, is texting and hitting up personally those people, even there, and I'll show you features later to do this really easily to where you don't have to sit on your phone and just like go to each person and text them, you know what I'm saying, individually. But that's the best promo there is when you can reach out to someone genuinely and be like, hey man, haven't seen you in a while, like how are you doing, spark up a conversation and be like, all right, listen, I wanted to talk to you. I have a show coming up this Saturday. You know what I'm saying? They're way more inclined to come check you out and support you and be a real fan than if you're just like, click send on flyer. They're just like, cool, and they just, swipe away. So those personal connections are really important. And you can even carry that into the way that you post. So when you make a post on Facebook, something that I've been doing recently with our business page is calling, like, you got to call your fan base something. You know, a lot of people say fan base. we like to use in our posts the word family, because we really feel like we are a family, and we want other people that view our posts to feel like when they're reading our posts, they're like, I am getting this information because I am part of the family. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they just want to feel that community vibe. And the more that you can build that foundation of a community rather than a fan base, a family, that's way better. Because each person that you have on your team is going to really be there to support you if you can show support back to them. You know what I'm saying? You get what you give in absolutely anything, and it goes for the music industry as well. If you can learn to support others and take time out of your day, others will take the time. They'll notice that, and everything just takes time. It's all time relative.
There's something to be said about building a fan base or a family versus building just consumers, right? And so that seems to be the biggest difference. I mean, you'll see something like branding with Nike, and where it's like they're not just getting consumers that want to buy athletic products, but rather an identity around people that believe what Nike believes.
Just do it.
Right,
Just
exactly.
Yeah,
right,
there
right,
you go.
Right, and so on a branding and a marketing level, there's a clear distinction that this isn't somebody that only wants to attend my shows or attend the events that I throw or even listen to my music, but it's somebody that wants to feel and believe what I believe and what I feel. When it comes to Beyond Entertainment, what does Beyond Entertainment, what is it trying, what's the goal, what's the message, what's the intention behind this brand?
So something that we've carried super heavily since the very beginning is keeping all the sound that you hear extremely underground, stuff that you've never really heard before, because I think that I think I can speak for everyone on the team that new sounds and new music it's coming out all the time. So because there are new messages to be told through that music, you know what I'm saying? You can listen to old music, has a message too, don't get me wrong, but new underground EDM music right now, that's how I'm telling my story, even if it's through other DJs. You know what I'm saying? DJs that I book. Those DJs are telling a story, and I try and have it to be new music, because to me, something about new music and underrepresented music, like look at Europe, you know what I'm saying? Drum and bass and techno, huge over there. And here, drum and bass just isn't as appreciated, you know what I'm saying? So bringing underrepresented genres and underrepresented sounds is like a huge part of our business. And then what I just told you about cultivating a family rather than a fan base is really important to us. We're super grassroots, you know what I'm saying? All of our followers on Facebook are like my friends. That's how I feel. And I think that I think that was the spark, you know what I'm saying, was having that family.
Very cool, very cool. Go ahead and start showing us a little bit of how everything started from the beginning, and then kind of working our way up to where you are today.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to shoot over to our Instagram. I stopped it right here in the feed. Everything prior to this was pre-photos of our first event, so like setting up for it and stuff. You can see us literally, it's like my best friend since I was in kindergarten, and my business partner now at the time. I got you. And we are cutting out the wings of a butterfly, and those get projected on, and that ended up being like the stage design for our first ever show. So it just kind of shows you, like, there's 4 of us in a shop here, like, building our stage for our first ever event, you know what I'm saying? Just in a garage in the middle of nowhere. Super ground up type stuff. Our logo is a butterfly. I don't know if y'all can see. I got that tattooed on me just for the business. There's the butterfly right there. That was the main stage at Beyond Existence. That was our first ever event, and it was like a miniature scale music festival with 2 stages and something like 20 local acts or something. Mad Hatter was our headliner. I'll give y'all some more pictures here. Keep telling the story. So we got, I'm just going to show y'all some of the little successes and little things for our team that we've done over the years. I'm sure y'all have heard of Electric River. They had a battle last year to see if someone could, like, whoever won the battle went to go play, and one time got to play on that, and that was one of the artists. He's one of the artists that I manage. So I get them booked on shows. We threw a boat party. My friend Shane Marshall, he goes by Rizzo. We threw a birthday party for him on a boat. That was our second event ever, I think. This is all like about 2 years ago-ish, just to give you a timeline. We help promote a lot of Weird Wubs baked up shows.
And speaking regarding like partnerships, how are partnerships particularly useful or beneficial when it comes to expanding your brand? And is that a mutually beneficial relationship? Is it a quid pro quo? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think that everyone needs to collaborate at some point. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to do stuff on your own, it's just not going to work. Like, you can get pretty far on your own, don't get me wrong, but people, I feel like, would just have not a negative vibe about you, but if you're never collaborating with anyone or talking to anyone or trying to make things work with people, people never develop trust with you. And so when you try and do something on your own and launch something, you know what I'm saying? People aren't necessarily there to support you because they don't know you and you haven't interacted with them there very much. So I think that I definitely owe a lot of success to all the people that we've collaborated with in the past, Sydney being one of them with Baked Up. Yeah.
And so this actually goes back onto the previous point that Rowdy had made regarding community. It seems that community isn't only open to your fan base and to the people attending and that care about your product, but community expands on the much larger size is who you're working with and the many people that are doing very similar type of events, or maybe the events might not even be so similar, but the fact that they're working on a local level next to you, there's a lot of power between being able to develop trust, develop relationships, connecting with folks, and then giving them an opportunity to get access to your fan base, and then equally them to get access to your fan base. Do you think that the different relationships that you've developed over time, how quickly do you think you've developed as a consequence of those relationships? How long do you think it would have taken you had you just done it alone?
Oh, man. I mean, it's hard to give you a timeline of how long it would have taken, but just to give you an idea, like, it's kind of obvious how if I throw a show and I get 100 people to come, and then Sydney throws a show and she gets 100 people to come, that's two pretty separate markets. Right. If we throw a show together, it's going to be a little bit more profitable. Obviously, like, you're going to have a little bit bigger of a fan base to reach there with a collaboration. Mystic Grizzly was our biggest show so far in a small venue like that, and we were like 15 tickets from selling out just because it was a collaboration. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that I could have done that alone. I don't think that Sydney could have done that alone. You know what I'm saying? It was just all of the biggest things that I've done so far have definitely been with the help of other people. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense.
And so as maybe as a starting point for maybe somebody that wants to do what you're doing, it seems that it's very powerful to connect and to collaborate with others rather than looking at them as simply competition. Oh, this person is throwing another show. I better throw a bigger show. I better do something much bigger that will completely blow them out of the water.
Definitely.
Rather, it's like, hey, I see what you're working on, or I'd like to be interested in what you're working on. How can I help?
Definitely.
How can I collaborate?
Absolutely.
And see, this is a really pervading, I would say it's a very inspiring and very pervading theme in the folks that we've had here at Pantheon Music Academy, because we're constantly searching for folks that really want to build community, people that really want to extend a hand and say, hey, how can I help rather than what can I get? And it goes to show that we had a previous guest, Chris Monroe, and where he talked about mutually beneficial relationships and how powerful those are in this industry.
Super.
Right. So tell us a little bit more about the shows and a little bit more about kind of the direction that Beyond Entertainment has developed towards as a consequence of these interactions. I'm sure that you guys have gotten not only support from other markets, but have you guys gotten like any inspiration, ideas, maybe even some things that you guys hadn't occurred as a consequence of working with Baked Up or any of these other promo companies?
So definitely a lot of the time, new opportunities are every single day. You know what I'm saying? Something happens and sparks something else. Every time that we've booked an artist so far for one of our shows, so just to give you an idea, Leica Beats was our second show at Kiva, and Kiva was a small venue that we had in San Marcos. a lot of local acts there. I'm sure y'all recognize some of them. Nonchalance from Austin. All these guys are from Austin. Just to give you an idea, though, so just because I booked Like a Beats, I didn't know him previously at all, but he was just such a genuine person. I guess you kind of forget that these acts that you're booking, they're like people too, that definitely they want to help. You know what I'm saying? They're genuine people. They got to where they're at for a reason. But this guy, his name is Josh, and he helps me out with so many projects now, or if I'm looking to, I like to look in the market and see who's kind of coming up in the bass community, and this guy's he's supported by Bass Nectar, you know what I mean? And so he's in that bass network, and I know that he has that hookup on fresh talent, and so he's always sending me new music, you know what I'm saying? Trying to get the best people booked, you know? He's trying to hook up his people, and eventually it's going to come back around, you know what I'm saying? Book one of his friends, and then that's the cycle.
Very cool. Very cool. So now we've talked about some of the shows that you've thrown. I know that you even have Beyond Existence has a show coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so we have a music festival.
Oh, yeah.
Once a year.
Okay.
And it's called Beyond Existence. I'm going to go to the top of our Instagram for this. So we book everything. We book a lot of techno, like I said, drum and bass, all the underrepresented stuff. This is, I would say, our focus as a company right now, is this style of music. The only one that's kind of out of context as far as the style of, like, the genre goes is Ghost Data, but I'm sure all of y'all know Ghost Data, and we definitely wanted to work with Johnny Bunn, and we wanted to get a platform for his artist, and we definitely wanted to get some Houston pull. And Ghost Data, he's really heavy. I'm sure you've heard it. A lot of his stuff, he has a lot of really heavy.
He's got, it's crazy. For those of you that might not know, Ghost Data is a Houston artist here, and it's phenomenal because he has a melodic and yet heavy storytelling method. I believe the character is the shepherd. And I'm sure at some point we're going to have him back on, and he can tell us himself. How did the coordination for Beyond Existence come into place? Like, there's so many different moving pieces for something like a festival.
Right.
What does it require? What type of infrastructure do you guys need?
So it requires, it's basically just a list of things, and it seems really simple. There's, like maybe 5 things or so that you just have to knock out, and then after that, everything just kind of branches off of there. But to give you like some main points, so a venue, you got to find that venue. Then that's the first thing. A lot of the times, your venue is going to have already things like bathrooms, a bar, stuff like that. Sometimes you got to figure out porta potties, depending upon what your venue is or whatever. You got to figure out what, I would say you got to have a vibe for the show and how you see it going. You don't want genre clash like crazy. You don't want to be going back and forth from progressive house to heavy dubstep over and over again all night, that type of stuff. So you definitely got to watch out for lineups, set times. That's really time consuming, especially with 40 artists on the lineup.
And just for the folks at home that might not completely understand what you mean by genre classing, why is that important, and why does that play a role in the flow of the show?
Well, to give you an idea, the 2 that I mentioned were progressive house and heavy dubstep. Each of those have a very particular vibe. I'm sure that y'all know. Y'all are all EDM kids. I feel like you get into a specific frequency when you listen to specific music, and you kind of, progressive house is just really, really chill, kind of upbeat, just makes you want to just dance. Whereas heavy dubstep is much more of, like, I would say, this angry emotion, you know what I'm saying? Or just really intense.
Yeah, it's more raw.
Yeah, and when you get done with a heavy dubstep set, at the end of it, you're like, whoa, and you want more, you know what I'm saying? You want more crazy. And to go back into something like more chill like that, it just wouldn't really make sense. You kind of want to build throughout the night. You want people to build anticipation all the way until they see that final act, and then it just really hits them when they see it.
Right, and so part of your research not only falls into doing your venue, but then doing your due diligence with the artists themselves to make sure that as the flow of the show goes on, that the energy is a consistent and gradual rise up, rather than it being an up and down roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit more. So we talked about the venue, we talked about doing your research on the artists that you're booking, the lineup, the time slots. What else goes into it?
So picking who you're going to have on your lineup. So like I said, you want to have a specific idea in mind for how you want the festival to go. And like I said, this underground bass vibe is kind of where our company is right now. And I don't know if you haven't heard of these artists, all of them, pretty much all of them on this whole lineup, with the exception, we have a house stage. We want all the house music to be kind of on one stage, you know, like we were talking about, kind of keeping the vibes together. But choosing this genre, you know, you have to go through, listen to each of these artists, make sure that you hear what they have to offer so that they can complement each other as well as possible. Because even within bass music, there's subgenres of bass music, you know. So this is just really, really, really in particular focused on an extremely certain sound, right, all the way leading up to this point, and then it just kind of gets heavier. Ghost Data pulls it up, and then, you know, Digital Ethos slaps 100%. He's the loudest, most intense artist on the lineup for sure.
Right. And then on a marketing level, so you have these artists booked, you have the lineup set, you have the venue taken care of, the dates down. What's the process like of pushing out this content so people know that it exists?
All right, so this is the part we've been waiting for.
The
marketing.
Yeah,
here it is. Here's the main point, y'all. This is how to push anything. So we'll just take it from a flyer perspective. You can put any information on a flyer, and I'm just going to show you where all you want that flyer. It's a lot of it's obvious, but maybe we'll find some things along the way that y'all had not thought of. So if you're trying to push a flyer out there, like I said before, you're going to want to get it every possible place you can. First of all, if you have a solid idea, I heard this somewhere, I can't remember where, but it's really important. If you have a solid idea and it's going to make you money, or you need money to invest in it, or you know that you're going to be spending money, or get any time money is involved whatsoever, if it's a good idea and you're passionate about it and you know it's go time, you need to get incorporated, right? So establish an LLC as soon as possible, even if you're just an individual, because you're going to end up paying a lot in taxes. That's a simple rule, just by the way. Get incorporated as soon as possible. People take you a lot more seriously, I've noticed. Like the day after we owned a business, everyone was like, oh, they own a business. You know what I'm saying? And it's really not that hard. All you got to do is freaking go online and enter some information, pay a little fee. So that's my advice, my first piece of big advice. My second piece of big advice is drink water. That's really, really, really important. That'll get you further than you think.
You heard it here first.
All right, so Instagram. We'll go through Instagram real quick. There's just a few little things here and there. I'm more familiar with the mobile app, but you can just make a post, right, which goes onto your feed, which other people can see. You're going to want to also get as many people. Every time I mention something, just know you're going to want to, hopefully, one day, have a team of people who can also share this on these platforms. So you're going to want to have a lot of people all posting this flyer on their Instagram post. There's also stories on Instagram for those of you who don't use it. If you don't have one social media, like let's say you logged off Twitter in high school because you're like, I can't take this drama anymore. You know what I'm saying? My suggestion to you is if you're trying to market yourself, you should be on every single social media. And you can, I'm telling you, you can cleanse your feed to where you're not seeing that. That's the number one thing I hear is like, oh, I don't want to see all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, on Twitter. And I'm like, dude, you're just not following the right people. Just follow pages that interest you. And there's ways to gain followers and stuff, and I'll go through that later in the chat. But definitely try and get yourself out there on every single social media that you know of.
And so when getting yourself on all social media platforms, one of the key tricks is to make sure that, I take it on a branding level, that it's consistent. You have Beyond Entertainment LLC on Facebook, and then separately on Instagram, Beyond Entertainment LLC. Why is that important for those of us that might not be too?
It would be really confusing. And I feel like a lot of people start out like this. When we very first made the company, it's sometimes usernames aren't always all available at the same time and whatnot. So you want to definitely, people want to, it's easier to remember one thing than it is to remember 5 things. Can we all agree with that? So Beyond ATX, or in this case, Beyond Entertainment LLC, you can type that in pretty much anywhere. That'll show up on Twitter, that'll show up on Facebook, and that'll show up on Instagram. You know, you want it to be able to show up when you type in that one thing that everyone remembers, you know what I'm saying? And our logos are all consistent. You want to have that, you want to have like whatever your logo is or whatever you want to be associated with pretty much stamped on everything you do. And that, you'll see this on, I'm sure y'all have seen this, but they do this on flyers and stuff too. This was a mix we released. Shane, my homie, Rizzo, he's an alien from space. But we put the BE logo right there, put it on all our flyers, you know what I'm saying, all at the bottom, just to where people can recognize it. And that's like one of those micro engagements that I was talking about, where people see it, and it's honestly almost subliminal messaging. People don't always make the conscious effort to be like, Beyond Entertainment, you know what I mean? But they see that logo. So that's really important.
Is there a particular platform? We have a question over here from the live stream from Alex. And he's asking, in your opinion, what is the most important platform? If there's one.
I want to say Facebook for our industry specifically, but I've noticed every platform is it's good for its own thing, and consumers of this media don't all have all the platforms, so it's just really important to be on all of them, because there are a lot of people who are only on Instagram, and there are a lot of people who are only on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Or they have all of them except for Facebook, so you need to hit them on the other three. For our industry and like as far as business goes, dude, I feel like I do most of my business on Facebook. Do you think you could agree with that? Or?
It really depends on the type of content, right? Because it's like if you're trying to convince people to attend a show, it's a very useful platform to have Facebook, and where you can send out invites, you can get an idea for traction, how many people are attending, how many people are interested, how many people you're potentially reaching with that audience. Separately, Instagram is powerful in the sense that it gives you a lot of visual imagery, and in fact, it's confined only to visual imagery for the most part, with the key exceptions of descriptions and some keywords. So ultimately, it comes down to understanding each platform, its strengths and weaknesses, and then using those strengths and weaknesses in a way that best supports your business. So, on Beyond Entertainment's Instagram, you have pictures of them behind the scenes creating the type of stages and content that people are gonna see for the shows or the festivals that are taking place. That type of information may not be as necessarily important on Facebook. But then separately on Facebook, you could make a giant announcement or a giant flyer saying, hey, here's a show that's coming out, who's interested? And then you can get tangible traction. And
Event pages.
Right.
Let me say that again. Event pages. Invites to event pages. No one wants to do them. They're really important, okay? So get as many people as you can to send invites to things that you're doing, because invites are great. I mean, and it's honestly about seeing that, like, those numbers, bro, like they can tell you a lot. I'm going to look this up. Shameless plug right now.
That's what we're here for.
Yep, I appreciate y'all. So this is Beyond Existence 2019. When people click on this page and they see that 1.1 thousand people are going, they're like, I might want to go to that. You know what I'm saying? That sounds cool. It's only $30. Awesome.
And walk us a little bit, because we have on the right-hand side, it says we have 17.5K people reached. We have 1.1K of responses.
That's going or interested.
And then you have the 274 is that ticket clicks?
That is ticket link clicks, yes. So that's how many times people have visited the ticket link.
So it gives you a really fascinating thing about using these platforms is that it gives you tangible data that you could use to kind of measure the amount of interest and the amount of momentum that any particular event is gaining. And based off of that, you can sculpt the way that you're communicating to your audience in a way to maximize or to change those ratios for the better. So do you have the event link of last year's Beyond Existence?
We can probably find it.
It'd be really interesting, maybe on a separate tab, to like have those side by side, and that way we can get an idea of what can change in 365 days worth of time as far as branding and marketing is concerned, and you can actually tangibly see a change for the better, and saying, hey, last year we only had X amount of people interested. Now we have 2 times, 3 times, whatever the amount of times more interest in our events. And everything starts small, right? Because it's like the humble beginnings.
All right, so to give you a little insight, May 4th, 2018. Started at 6 p.m. Went until 2 a.m. Let's see. Let's click on it here. 254 interested. 421 total responses, which that's really cool. It's my girlfriend's lucky number. That's awesome. Skeda.
That's a year from now.
That's a year ago.
Wow.
And so in that amount of time, let's see, we got 421 last year. We had something like 20 acts. The biggest, like I said, our headliner last year was a local, and his name is Mad Hatter. He's a pretty big local, no doubt. Brett, yeah, shout out if you're watching.
Brett.
Love you. And then this is this year. We'll go back. Oh, y'all saw the numbers already. 1.1 thousand compared to 421. And we didn't even we didn't even have the ticket link set up to the Facebook page last year. That's wild. So yeah, we've come a long way.
That's a pretty big difference. And so, all growth, our growth isn't additive, but it's exponential. And it's really fascinating how you went from 421 to a little bit just twice that, almost 3 times the amount. And the amount of reach that you gained, how did you guys expand your network in a way that you allowed the Facebook algorithm to reach so many more people?
Definitely. So it's me and my friend Phil. And so first of all, the reason that I started a business with Phil was because this is where you got to choose your team. You got to choose wisely. First of all, Phil is like the nicest guy I've ever met in my whole life, and he's like super passionate, you know what I'm saying? And I love that. And secondly, I noticed we both had just a lot of friends, you know what I'm saying? A lot of friends, people that we talk to on a regular basis, and we're seeing them, partying with them, going to shows, like a huge network. And then we found out after the idea kind of came to life that we had a lot more mutual friends than we thought. You know what I'm saying? Like the web really just kind of took off. And once, like I said, once people saw the whole LLC thing, they're just interested. Like people were like, oh, like you and Phil, you know what I'm saying? Like 2 familiar names. And I feel like, a lot of people like Phil, a lot of people like me, maybe, I hope. And that's just where the idea came about. But once we had that network, I think just the best way we expanded, like all the tips that I showed you, you know what I'm saying? Instagram, going out, helps so much. You don't have to, people say this all the time. They're like, oh, I don't want to go out. Like, I'm not trying to get hammered tonight. And I'm like, dude, just go out, drink some water, talk to some people, maybe have a business card. It's a great idea. Talk to people. If you're trying to, this is a good marketing tip, and it'll give you ideas on how to market better. If you can figure out what's working, you know what I'm saying? So talk to people in the industry. If you're a DJ or like me, if you're like a show promoter, I go around and I talk to people and I ask them let me see your SoundCloud. Like, who are you listening to right now? Like, what are your favorite songs? Who are your favorite artists? Who do you want to see come to this area? Those types of questions. Anything that's relative to what you're doing that will give you more information. People, just open your ears. You know what I'm saying? Close your mouth, open your ears, listen to what other people have to say, because it's really, really, really important half the time. Even if it's something small, doesn't seem like it's going to be necessarily important. Try and listen to what other people say as much as you possibly can, no doubt.
So from going out and making connections with people, letting them know. I mean, so is it? It sounds like first part of that connection was, hey, what are you working on? What are you into?
Right.
Versus, hey, come to my event. Hey, take this flyer. Hey, please attend my show. Please buy my tickets.
Right.
It's a very different type of marketing in the sense that you're developing relationships. You're developing connections. And this goes all the way back into developing that sense of community, right?
Just make friends. It's don't look at it from a perspective of, I need to push this content out there. Be like, I need to let my friends know what I'm doing. You know, that's it. They are just like, hey guys, it adds this lighter feel to it, and people really pick up on that. It's really hard when you getting flyers kind of just shoved in your face. You know, it kind of seems that way sometimes, and it's honestly at the end of the day, you kind of got to do it sometimes. You just got to keep putting your content out there. But if you can do it in this kind of light mood, like, hey guys, I'll be here, come and find me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to say hello to you, stuff like that. Just really gentle, light things. You know what I'm saying? Keep it kind of your vibe. That's just my vibe. You know, if you're an aggressive person, you want to be like, come party with me, bitch.
And ultimately, okay, so this is actually a really, really good point now. This comes back into identity. And so not only the identity of the company, what Beyond Existence stands for, but even as Rowdy himself, the type of person that he is and the way that he engages with people on a physical level, I would assume and I would imagine that that's also congruent with the way that you interact with people through Facebook.
If I just got on Facebook right now and I started trying to act like someone who I'm not, people are just most receptive to like who you are. So when you can like, the more that you can get into being yourself, the more people are going to pick up on that. That's where the energy comes from, is all right here. Like, don't try and take the ideas you have might be from other people, but cultivate them in your own way. You know what I'm saying? Just like be unapologetically you, and like shit will work out, no doubt. That's a fact. More math for you.
Right. And that could actually be a little bit tough for folks. I mean, I definitely want to go back into the marketing standpoint, but in order to properly know how to advertise and how to share with folks what you're about, what your product is about, why you're doing it in the first place, there's a very deep sense of understanding of you knowing why you're here in the first place.
You gotta know what you're doing, and you gotta want it. I said that at the beginning. You gotta definitely know your vision. You gotta, like, I know that I want my friends to listen to underground bass music with me at events. That is the way that we are progressing right now, because every time we have one of those reunions, more ideas and more determination and just things are born and cultivated when we have these gatherings. So like if you're a DJ, I know that you've had that feeling. There are probably some DJs in the room. No? Yes? Yes.
Oh, we got some DJs.
Y'all have had that feeling when you play a good set, especially if there was a lot of people there, you're like, I just changed something. You know, like you feel the change in the crowd and you're like, oh, wow, I did that. I did that. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you just feel good, and it determines you, and it determines the people in the crowd. What you feel is what they feel. Right. And if you can so basically you're aiming to make yourself feel good through what you're doing, and that's it. Again, everything else will just completely follow.
And I think that's something really interesting to show, because it's not only with Beyond Existence, but with Pantheon Music Academy, the clearer the vision is and the clearer understanding of why you're here in the first place, the easier it will be for your team to find you. For folks to say, hey, I believe what you believe, how can I help? How can I participate in making sure that other people know that this is happening? Very cool. Now, I do believe we have a question from Victoria. Shout out, Victoria. What do you think is one of the most important things about marketing? From face-to-face connections and the numbers on your page, what's the way that you interact with potential clients?
Potential clients. Okay. So personal messages is usually, a text. I make a list of people at the beginning of the week. I have probably 30 lists. Make lists, by the way, guys. That's huge. I end up losing my lists or throwing them away, but just writing them once usually helps me a lot. So like at the beginning of the week, I'll write a list of, I'll make a comment on a Facebook post, right? And I will say, I'm teaching CDJ lessons or whatever. And then I get 40 people in my DMs or whatever that hit me up that say, hey, can we schedule CDJ lessons? I write down all of their names, because there's 40 people, and out of those 40, how many people do you think are actually going to get 10. The CDJ lessons? Maybe 10. Maybe. Yep. So you need to have that list of potentials. So anytime anyone hits you up for anything, maybe have like columns on your list. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people hit me up to play a show. These people hit me up to rent equipment. This is all in my case, you know what I'm saying? And then make those lists of potentials. And then after you've got business from them once, remind them once a week on like maybe deals that you're doing, or like, hey man, just remember I have this stuff available for delivery, or like, hey man, been working on new tunes, just released like 3 new ones, ready to start playing some more shows, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Just plug yourself back. Reverse market for sure is really big deal. Come back on stuff that's helped you in the past. Really focus and hone in on what's working and try and scrap what's not working, because it's pretty evident, like maybe not what's making money, and it's in some cases, it's like what's making money, you know what I'm saying? You can use that definitely as a tool, but what's getting attention, what are people clicking like on? That's one way to control your content is, you post a picture of some puppies and you throw an event page on there, and everyone's like, oh, puppies at first, and then they click like, and then they see it's an event page, and they're probably not going to unlike the post, you know what I'm saying? So it gets you a lot more attention than if you were to maybe just without the picture of the puppies, just tag the event page. People are just going to be like, that's a weird post. You know what I'm saying?
When it comes to the organization of data, so Facebook lets us see how many people are interested, what type of traction you're getting, the type of interest that you're cultivating from your audience. And then separately, you're saying, hey, I create spreadsheet tables, and where I have potential clients that are interested in a variety of different services. What other methods do you use, or what other things would you like to share with us of how you use data in order to help improve your business and push out content for other folks to find out?
Okay, so one of the ways, like I just said, if you post an Instagram picture one week, and this is one thing that I've noticed, this is just some tips, some helpful tips. On Facebook, unless you're telling a really good story that has like a beginning, middle, and end, and then a good conclusion, long text does not work. You know, people don't want to read. People just don't really want to do that. Sadly, I mean, I kind of like to read sometimes, but short and sweet, lots of emojis, make it stand out a little bit. We do recurring emojis. Like I said earlier, it'll be like, we have a weekly in San Marcos with Shane Marshall, Underground Tuesdays. When we post on there, remind me what I was talking about real quick.
We're talking about Underground Tuesdays, and specifically how you use data to your advantage, how you collect data.
I was on a trail about Underground Tuesdays.
Okay. We can come back to it.
Yeah, we could.
All right, we're parking like that. We have another question from Tony. Shout out, Tony. What do you see in the future with Beyond Existence? It's the second year, and it looks like a much larger event. Where do you see it going?
So we've had this talk a lot. Obviously, there's a scale with music festivals, right? So you have your local music festivals. You have Burning Man. You know what I'm saying? And the discussion that we've had a lot, specifically with the Beyond Existence team, is our goal Burning Man size? You know what I'm saying? Is that the goal for one day for Beyond Existence? We're not 100% completely sure. It's kind of hard, you know what I'm saying? It would be hard to turn down if there was the market for that. If people one day if there was 1 million people interested in going to this event, you know what I'm saying? It would be hard to only sell 10,000 tickets or 5,000 tickets, you know what I'm saying? But me personally, what I think, I would really like to keep that underground vibe, you know what I'm saying? Little bit smaller artists, maybe one headliner, you know? Not headliner on 3 different stages, you know what I'm saying? Maybe 5,000 to 10,000 people in that range, because it just gives people more moving space, and it's a little more personal, and the community of Beyond Existence can really grow through that. Like, what's that rave on a boat? Holy Ship. Sorry, I don't know why I blanked on that. It's pretty easy. Holy Ship probably does not sell many tickets. It's like, I think you have to have an invite code usually, and it's just super exclusive. How badass is that? Everyone agrees that Holy Ship is badass, right? That's cool. And I'm thinking that exclusive it has its own vibe, and I just think that that's pretty cool. Maybe not exclusive, like you can't come, but just more personal.
Certain level of intimacy.
Intimacy is a good word for sure.
I get that. We have another question. It says, do you think that the underground event throwers / promoters should follow more of what's going on in the main industry? So, for example, following in the steps of Insomniac, DDP, or C3. Do you think that the underground scene should do you think that the underground scene should pave new ways for the future?
Everyone else can do whatever they want and take from. I think that I definitely learn a lot from Disco Donnie and from people like that are kind of feel like in between me and Disco Donnie, like Johnny. You know what I'm saying? Johnny Bund. You can definitely take things from other people, but I feel personally like I have my own things to offer within the industry that are I feel like completely different from what bigger companies are doing, and I definitely stick to those. And I think that's more important. But you can always take lessons from other people for sure. Don't be like, I'm not doing that. I ain't Disco Donnie. You know what I'm saying? Take lessons for sure.
Yeah, so it's a variable depending on what your intention and what your goal is. Ultimately, why is the underground scene so important for you? Why is that such a critical part of the identity of what Beyond Entertainment stands for?
It's kind of hard to say other than just like, people just have this certain interest for it. It's just where I see the most interest, so that's where I am aiming for, if that makes sense. And it's just what I'm most interested in. Like, if we can, one day I guess the aim is to be the mainstream, and then there will be an underground underneath us. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's the aim for all of us to kind of come up together and be the new mainstream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, little by little, right?
Little by little.
I mean, ultimately, DDP started out in a very similar boat that Beyond Entertainment started at. Where it's like at some point in time and place, it was an idea, it was an intention, it was a very small community, and eventually it became to what we see today.
Yeah.
And so I guess time will tell with something like that.
Definitely.
We're going to go ahead and open the floor. We've been answering a couple of questions here on the stream. If anything that has come up that you guys have questions on or maybe would like some expansion on, we do have the floor open. Yes?
Could you elaborate on your involvement with the mark?
I'm going to go ahead and repeat that for folks at home to hear that question. We had a question from Mitch saying if Rowdy can go ahead and elaborate his relationship and what he's done with the mark. Tell us a little bit about the mark in the first place. What is the mark?
Okay, so the mark, spelled M-A-R-C, is in San Marcos, so that's where it gets the name. Makes sense. Omar, a guy named Omar, his dad owns the venue, and he owns the promo team, After Dark. Shane Marshall manages the promo team that Omar owns. Omar does the booking. Shane does all the marketing, and he runs a team of promoters. And he hired me on like 2 years ago just to be a promoter at first. And then, you promote online for a little bit, and then you start selling tickets. And then you maybe have the opportunity to distribute tickets to other promoters and make, more money off of distributing those tickets. So it's just like you can definitely climb the ladder anywhere, you know what I'm saying? After Dark definitely really helped me climb that ladder. When you promote, usually when you help promote certain companies, that's how you get to play shows for those companies. So that's a good suggestion right there if you're a DJ. Definitely try and be loyal to a team, and then that team, like whoever's running that, usually that I know I hook people up that promote for me. So, but I have played at the Mark a few times as well. Nora and Pure. I can't really remember what the other show was. It was really early slot back in the day, but it's definitely one of my favorite places, and they throw huge shows. I don't know if you've seen they've got huge. Nice, dude. Awesome.
There's an interesting theme to be made about if you're going in the direction of DJing. Now, Rowdy's touched a variety of different fields, right? But specifically for DJs, a common misconception is, oh, I'm only going to play out, and somehow my fans will find me, they're going to love me, and then I'm going to become Tiesto someday. And when we first started in the music industry, and if we picked up decks, that's a very easy observation to make, because on a superficial level, that's all you really have to go off of. But the more time goes by and the more time you talk with people that have been in the industry, you learn that these folks wear multiple different types of hats. And thanks to those different hats that they wear, whether it be promotion, whether it be any level of marketing, whether it be sales, whether it be the many different gears that exist within this industry, the more they help others, the easier it is for them to expand whatever endeavors they're working on. Whether that be DJing, whether that be throwing your own events, whether that be even Pantheon, for that matter. The point is that mutually beneficial relationships are really the best way of going towards things. It's like you might say, hey, right now I might not be getting compensated or paid for doing promotion or for letting people know that these events exist, but it creates, I think, a more special type of currency is one of trust. And where folks say, hey, this person went out of their way to help me out. What could I do to help this person out? If
you develop trust with good people that you see that are doing good things, that's just a good idea. Do that. I'm telling you to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You get a lot better return on your investment than simply saying, hey, book me, pay me this much, because that's a very it's a very superficial interaction in the sense that it might be a one-time thing, but mutually beneficial relationships can be recurring. And so at some point, you might not be gaining as much as you could at that particular moment, but it gives you the opportunity or the room for further relationship to develop.
Gears are always turning, especially in the music industry, and people are always looking for just new opportunities and new people to fill roles. People are always not being reliable. So let's say you're a photographer. Let's say I have a show tomorrow. I need to hire a photographer. This photographer is not answering. This photographer is not answering. You got to be, ready to go
Very
at all
cool.
times.
Very cool. Now switching the gears a little bit, there's a particular moment in where you said that you wanted to show us a little bit more of how you did, it wasn't the marketing, but it was the profile that you've created through SoundCloud and through the other platforms that you have.
Okay. I can bring up the SoundCloud for sure.
So one of the many hats that Rowdy wears is also one of as an artist. And so right now he's going to show us his profile through SoundCloud and particularly what the experience is like, because I also know that you work with Shane. Are you managing Shane?
I do not manage Shane. So funny that you bring this up. I have been, one of the titles in my description is artist manager. Just as of recently, decided to take a lot more time for the business aspect of things, especially with Beyond Existence right around the corner. I find myself really just bogged down with a lot of stuff. I've gotten a lot of my friends. It was very light management, you know what I'm saying? Like I definitely got them bookings. None of the people that I managed are releasing songs right now. They're all working on music. And so we're taking a hiatus with the artist management, and come next year we're going to have a lot of music coming out, and it's going to be ramped up right at the perfect time. Just wanted to let y'all know that.
Very cool.
But no, I do not manage Shane. He's one of my best friends. We release guest mixes once a month.
And that's through Beyond Entertainment.
Through Beyond Entertainment, yes. Our first ever mix was last month, so we've only had 2 so far, and it got 4,100 plays, and we have 77 followers now. We had 0 when we started, just by the way.
That's normally how it works when you first start.
Definitely.
And so with Beyond Entertainment as a whole, it seems that you have multiple different platforms. Not only do you guys throw shows, release mixes, are there any future installments that you guys are going to add in order to help develop the branding or the identity of Beyond Entertainment?
So y'all know Getter, right? And y'all have seen the YouTube videos. That's like, for myself, me personally, I see my YouTube channel going in the direction of kind of like a Getter style. And then as far as just kind of off the wall, just crazy stuff. And then Beyond Entertainment is going to be, all the guest mixes that we do are going to be, shout out Nelson Zepeda, first of all. He's going to run the YouTube. He's going to he does visual mixes. So he'll mix visuals over top of all of our guest mixes, and then all of those are going to be released on YouTube. So that's coming pretty soon. My own personal artist SoundCloud hasn't dropped. That's something I'm sitting on because I'm just waiting to get all my tunes together. I have a lot of songs finished and a few released, but waiting on another, that's just another platform to
Very
just
cool.
micro engage, you know what I'm saying?
Now, for folks that are in the stages of wanting to either do what you do or are interested in getting into the music industry, do you have any gold nuggets of wisdom that maybe you would have wanted to share with yourself at an earlier stage before you got started?
Don't be afraid to talk to people. I think this is probably a really good piece of advice. It's probably the biggest piece of advice. There are people in your life that when you meet them, it is going to be just like different than when you meet other people. And you just get this kind of intuitive feeling about like you need to talk to that person. And a lot of the times I've seen shy people or myself in the past just be like, I don't need to go talk to that person. Just kind of walk off or whatever, just kind of blow it off. But like if you just get literally any urge, you get to do anything, not just talking to people. Like you need to follow your urges. You know what I'm saying? There's intuition, you know what I'm saying, that you can definitely follow. And talking to people it's the number one, bro. It's the number one. Communication. That's number one right there. I'll say it. If I say anything else is number one during this, stop me and remind me about communication,
right.
And we'll have a debate and a talk.
Okay.
I probably will.
And so when you go up to these people and talk to them, I mean, it seems that what you had mentioned previously is you get to know them, right? You get to know about what they're working on, what the SoundCloud is. Tell us a little bit more about the philosophy behind that. I mean, what's the intention of going up and talking to them? Is it, hey, I'm about to make a new friend? hey, I'm here to sell them something. Hey, I should tell them about my new hot fire mixtape.
Right.
What's the relationship there? What mentality are you going into that relationship with?
I go into every single conversation with a random stranger like with the same mentality of just like, all right, what can I learn from what from what they're about to tell me? Sometimes it's just like, the intuition's wrong, and that's okay. You just get to talk to someone new, and it's cool. They get to vent maybe a little bit or something. You get to vent sometimes. That's important too, talking your feelings out, unloading that stress. But definitely just going in with the mentality of what can I learn from or gather from this conversation. And it's usually not literal. It's just certain, you can even zone out from a conversation, and while that person's talking, you're thinking about something. Whatever that person's saying, their mouth might even have weird frequencies that are making you think certain things. I believe, in a lot of weird stuff like that. So I think that you should just listen to yourself. Your brain, I know that y'all have internal debates and talks with yourself in your head. We all have brains, so just keep having them and sometimes they're rough. You can be rough on yourself, but you just gotta breathe deep, you know what I'm saying? Get through it.
And when it comes to managing relationships, where do you define a line between, let's say, business and friends? I mean, you've made so many friends in this industry. At what point do you create that boundary in saying, hey, this is where our friendship starts, this is where it ends, and then specifically, this is how we manage things on a business level?
Any person that meets me or knows me, we can have as big of a business relationship as you're trying to have, as long as you're about it, you know what I'm saying? That goes for friendships too. You gotta be 100% in this, bro. I will not be your friend, and I will not be your business partner unless we are going in on this. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's really important. I think it's easy. You can have, so let's take Shane again, for example. He is one of my best friends, and he is one of the people that I do the most business with. And I think the way that you just got to look at it, what has helped me very much, and I know Shane does this too, we just agree to not talk about business when it's not time for business. If we're hanging out at Shane's house, like, unless something needs to be brought up, like, most business, I would say we stick to emails and over the phone type stuff, unless we need to have a meeting about it. But there's a business time and there's a friendship time. You know what I'm saying? And me and Shane, I feel like I found that good balance to where we can scream at each other on the phone for 5 hours about prices on the show, or like, damn it, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, really grinding it out, and then we can hang up the phone, be pissed at each other momentarily. I go to hang out with him an hour later, and we're just like, damn, EDM ministry, it's hard. It's real hard, bro. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of sitting there like, rough.
And so that line came as a consequence of, like, you guys just having some trial and error? Was it some experimentation? Does that apply for everybody that you work with?
I feel like some people just take things more personally than other people, and at this point in time, you should only work with like-minded people. Maybe not always. There are instances where you can learn from people who don't necessarily have the same opinions as you and stuff. Mm-hmm. But if, people that take things too seriously on a personal level and kind of make it about themselves, I don't really, I try not to work with people like that. I work with people that are like-minded in the business, separate from personal relationship era.
Okay. How does it ever become difficult? Like, what are the challenges of working alongside your friends versus, let's say, working alongside maybe a potential stranger that there's a business relationship, but where are the pros and cons of that?
So the cons are obviously kind of what we just talked about. Sometimes tension can arise to where it just like affects your personal life a little bit. But I think there are more pros than there are cons. It's the feeling of doing something alone, or like collaborating on something really cool with some strangers. Those are both, pretty cool. But when you can create something and you really kill it with your homies, that's dope. That's a good feeling. You know what I'm saying? That's that community vibe, again, like what we talked about. And I think that's definitely the biggest pro, because it lets everyone be really passionate about what they're doing and just kind of enjoy it a little bit more. I think that's a really good aspect of it. I think most of us that are working together in the industry are all pretty close friends too. Or at least if we're not friends, even people that haven't met each other, we're all really friendly to one another,
And I think not only Houston but Austin is very fortunate in that instance, being able to develop and cultivate a culture of collaboration, of friendship, of trust, has really that's actually from my understanding in Houston, that's been more of a recent thing. I don't know how long or persistent it's been in Austin, but within the last 5 years, there's been a shift within our local scene, and where there is more collaboration, there is more interest in being able to help somebody out versus in straight out trying to compete with them.
I've noticed, I'm definitely not going to say any names, but I've noticed there's a lot of much older people in the industry who, dude, it's like war, bro.
Right.
I've heard them talking just about each other, and it's just like, damn, how did y'all get to that point, bro? Every one of the big promoters that's much older in Texas, bro, they are just like never on the same, I guess they were just never on the same page. Maybe they used to collaborate. I don't know all the stories, you know what I'm saying? But it seems most of the major underground, like upcoming promotion companies are all collaborating at some level and being, nice and, at least acknowledging one another.
Right, and it's such a small community, especially the higher up that you go up the food chain. The more you realize that there's only so many key players that are actually working to throw these very large events. So you have companies like DDP, or you have a variety of different companies that are really pushing out these incredible festivals or lineups. At the end of the day, you have so many gatekeepers, and that number, Justina, I see you in the back. Maybe it can be held in like maybe 2 different hands, maybe 10 people?
You mean like the most vital people or like points of contact?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, just about. And so the point is that there's a consistent pattern that you see, not only on the very, very large scale, but even when you work down, is that you have folks like Rowdy, you have folks like Johnny, you have folks like Sydney, folks from these respective local companies that at the end of the day become the points of contact for, hey, how do you do this? How do you throw these events? Who do I need to talk to? And ultimately, the best way of being able to manage relationships is just by maintaining a level of decency and some level of communication and trust.
Respect, bro. You just got to respect other people.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go ahead and take a moment to open the floor once again. Welcome, Shane. You've been talked about very highly on this stream. So if you're here listening to us, hello. Any questions?
Can I play some SoundCloud?
Let's do it.
I'm going to play some music. I've been itching to do this.
Oh, hold on. We got one question.
Okay. I think we might have touched on this a bit earlier, but I can definitely go back over it. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter.
Twitter. Use Instagram?
I think I said Instagram. So imagery, Instagram, you're trying to throw content like images, like flyers and stuff. You can just get, it's just a bigger square. It's like more of the screen. Like the most amount of content that you're able to get on the screen is through Instagram. Like that fills up your screen. As far as following, the biggest following that I have between my business and myself on any of the accounts is on my personal Twitter. That's where I get the most, reach. I've been on Twitter since sophomore year, and I think I actually might be lying. I think I've only had my Facebook for a year. I'd never had a Facebook growing up ever, and I've had my Facebook for a year, but I think it's at almost 1,200 now, and I think that's my biggest one. Mm. Right. Right. Definitely. It definitely started with, I had social medias before I was interested in marketing at all, obviously, and I never had Facebook, but I had Instagram and Twitter for a long time before I decided to get Facebook for marketing. But I think as far as events, if I'm throwing events, Facebook is just there's the only one that has an event page, and that's where all your information can be relayed to people that are going to that event very easily. So I definitely like it for that reason.
On the realm of Facebook for a brief moment, you had mentioned that there were a couple of little shortcuts or a couple of little hacks, Facebook hacks, and you had briefly touched on it, doing, let's say, a picture of a puppy to cultivate a lot of attention, and then to follow that up with that post of, let's say, your flyer or an event page taking place. Do you have any other potential like Facebook hacks or any potential algorithm tricks that you could share with us?
Yes. So holidays, first of all, post often and like everything. It's free to like someone else's post, and every single interaction that you can use is useful. So let's just break it down into, just think about when you're on Facebook. This is a good way to put it. When you're on any social media, there are follow buttons, there are like, retweet, comment. There's so many things on all of those different like platforms. You know, there's repost. They all have their own different versions and names of it or whatever. But you want to utilize every single one of those things and just get it out there. You know what I'm saying? Start using it. Find relative, this is important. Follow people that are relative to the market that you're in. So for me personally, when I'm trying to grow Twitter followers, I'll have a day where I'm like, all right, all the people that are not following me, I unfollow all of those people, so where my followers are even, again, with my the people that I follow, you know what I'm saying? And then I go follow all the people that are following The Mark, all of the people that are following After Dark, all the people that, maybe tonight, I'm going to go follow all the people that follow Pantheon Music Academy, because now they have seen my name. Right. And so most of those people are likely to be like, I think I've heard that somewhere, and click my name. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of marketing that's like, it's really smart. You pull from context and you use those functions. That's really important.
Right. So it's specifically tailoring your audience and your followers based off of what's already interested to them. You knowing you already work with the Mark. So you know that anything that they like, anything that you put out is going to be relevant. It's going to.
And you can use these things, like, even though I don't do a whole lot for the Mark anymore, when there's a show announcement, if I'm one of the first people to make that show announcement, like if I'm on top of it, when Fisher was announced, I have almost nothing to do with Fisher, right? But I post, hey guys, the Mark just announced Fisher. 60 likes, because no one knew that Fisher was coming to the Mark until they saw it on my Facebook. And people now, because I make those announcements, use my Facebook to find out what the Mark is doing. So the more channels that I can have, the more things that people know to come to me for, the more reach I'm going to get as well. You know what I'm saying?
Very cool. Very cool. Any last questions on marketing before we switch gears a little bit? We got one question in the back.
Would you consider using, like, for example, Reddit, going through, like, you know, like the subreddits of, like, drum and bass, or specific, just, you know, just EDM in general? Would you consider that as a way of, like, marketing as well, or just finding content that you can help yourself to find?
I'm going to repeat that question just so the folks on the stream to hear. Asking about the use of Reddit or subreddits for the purpose of marketing.
So I personally don't use Reddit, so maybe I should get on Reddit. I don't know much about it. I don't know if it's like you can make posts, I assume, and other people can make posts that you read. And there are subreddits about like genres and stuff.
Yeah, various topics.
Okay, cool. Yes, I'm just gonna say it. Yes, it's a platform. People view it. Boom. There you go.
I think a good general broad view is that all platforms can be very powerful in their own. There's not one that's necessarily better than the other. It really depends on what you're working on. If you are taking a lot of pictures of food, then Instagram might be a better platform for you than, let's say, Twitter, and where you can only describe a food so well. So it really
because
depends.
people that use Twitter don't eat.
Right, they never eat, not at all.
Or sleep.
And so the idea is that you want to specialize and customize your content for the platforms, depending on what you want to convey, what type of information you want to provide. I mean, same thing like SoundCloud is specifically perfect for audio type of content. You're not going to try to write stories on SoundCloud description because that's not the platform for them. That's not why people go to it. So I would say that this does come down to you getting a clear understanding of what you want to say, what you're here to do, and then understanding each platform in its own way.
Definitely.
Very cool. All right, so switching gears a little bit.
I think he had a question as well.
Oh, we got one more question.
So just in your experience with what you've seen, do you think there's a way to kind of get plugged in and contribute to like the promotional business side of the industry while also trying to develop yourself as an artist if you're not necessarily to the point of being able to market yourself fully as an artist yet?
So, your question is, can you like? Yeah, sorry.
So,
You're
like,
good. You're good. It's
so
probably
say,
me.
you wanna produce and you wanna become an artist, but you know like you're not necessarily at the point yet where you can fully market yourself as a DJ. What do you think would be the most proper first step of what it looks like to get yourself into the industry without necessarily labeling yourself as an artist producer?
Okay, so let's say do you already DJ or are you starting to DJ right now?
Starting but no original tracks.
Okay, so you already know how to DJ, you just don't have original tracks.
Yeah, like playing in clubs, venues.
Yo, so you can market yourself. You market yourself as a DJ. You're like, here's where I'm DJing this. Just keep people updated with whatever you're doing and do it confidently. This is another thing. This is a huge turn off to me when people do this on social media. I think I'm gonna do this. When should I do this? You know what I'm saying? No. You post and you're like, this day, this time, this is happening, get ready. You know what I'm saying? So like, be confident, know what your next move is, and let people know about what it is. Don't say on social media, like, I'm gonna start producing this week if you're not gonna. You know, you better have those previews up on the Snapchat and on the stories of you in FL or Ableton making your beat the day after you make the post, like, I'm gonna start producing. Not I think I'm gonna start producing, like it's time to produce, you know?
I'd go as far as even just not even telling anybody that you want to produce. Release your first track.
Yeah, everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, especially if you wait until it's fire, you're like, I know this is fire. And you drop it and everyone's like, I didn't even know you produced. You know what I'm saying?
I want to follow up with your question. He was specifically asking on how you go about by branding yourself as a DJ if you don't have access, if you're not producing yet, right? There's a variety of different ways to answer that question, and one thing that I've consistently seen here in Houston, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this in Austin, you have certain promoters that say, I will never touch just somebody that's a DJ. Somebody else might simply say, oh, I don't care. Like, ultimately, if they're good at what they do on stage, then I want to get them booked. There's a variety of different philosophies and opinions when it comes to not only the creation of music, but what an artist really is. For a lot of folks at home, DJing and music production are two completely different things. One is you're playing out music and you're reading the crowd, you're organizing a song selection, you're cultivating a flow, you're having a conversation with folks. Production is you're at home, creating something almost out of nothing, right? They're both two different skill sets. They can be interchangeable, but ultimately they're very different. As an event thrower and as an event promoter, what is your opinion? What are your thoughts on producers, on DJs, and on only DJs, only producers, and how you go about by paying attention to those that do both?
So here's the thing. There's like tiers in my mind, right? Especially, I'm just gonna let y'all know, this is useful information for DJs. When I'm looking for someone to book, in my mind, I kind of start from the top, right? So I'm first trying to pick someone who is a really good technical DJ, who knows what they're doing on a mixing board. They have their original tracks down. They're laying it out, you know what I'm saying? They've been pushing out music. And I see them all over the place on Facebook. That's like perfect storm right there. That's like what I'm looking for. A lot of people, I don't hate on people that only DJ and don't produce, or people that only produce and don't DJ. Like, it's just what your preference is. But if you're trying to really progress and get to that spot, I'm not going to say every, because that's not true. Almost every single big person you see, they're all producing their own music, you know what I'm saying, and like performing it live for people to hear, like straight from the bedroom, you know what I'm saying? And I can tell you right now, people in the music industry have the most respect for those people, I think. Right. I think that I see a lot of people, the people that act like they're DJing while they're on stage, and maybe like it's a pre-recorded or someone else is mixing like underneath them or whatever. It's definitely, I can say that I'm not going to knock it, but a lot of people in the industry don't respect it. You know what I'm saying? And the more that you can put yourself into your art, that's where you're going to get the respect.
Ultimately, if you want to make a goal, like if you want to make a decision that you're going to come out as an artist is an all-encompassing package. Not only is it the music that you create, how well you spin it, but then also the perception and the experience that people get as a consequence of experiencing your set. So, I mean, you could have all the right music, you could have the right transitions and the right DJing, but if you look bored on stage, that's part of the experience.
Yeah.
And so you want to tailor your branding, because that's what you are. A lot of artists just say, oh, this is just the way that I am. If you don't understand it, that's too bad. Ultimately, you might end up just playing to an empty room. You're selling a package, you're selling a brand, you're selling a product, and that brand is you. That product is you. So having looking at it not only from an artistic perspective, but looking at it from a business and a branding perspective is key. It's critical. Ultimately, there are people that blow up just being DJs. And inevitably, for their brand to develop, they might not even touch production themselves, but they might get a ghost producer or a team of ghost producers that create music under that name or under that label. I know that that's a very popular thing for, what is it, the way more louder knob guy? Carnage.
Oh, yeah.
Carnage, yeah. And so it's like, with something like that, there's even a separate conversation to be said about ghost production as a whole. But ultimately, there's a pattern. There's a reason why this business model works, and it would be silly to try to break out of it and try to recreate something that really doesn't, that people don't really understand. So, any other questions regarding, oh, we got another question.
Okay, so I know we established legal rights for your entertainment company. That's for entertainment companies, somebody who's throwing shows and events and things like that. Now, someone as a producer or a DJ, they want to copyright their name. Obviously, everybody knows copywriting your tracks, original tracks, is a very smart idea. But as far as copywriting a name, I mean, is that the same process as going for, legal rights over an entertainment company? Is this something that, like a form that you can just get online, or do you have to actually go physically into the courthouse and ask for these kind of things? And
I never had to go into courthouse, nor did my business partner. I can't speak on the fact. I know that if you're, let's say, so we sell tickets. We're a business, and we sell tickets. If you're an artist and you want to be an LLC, you probably wouldn't have your DJ name be DJ blah blah LLC, but you would be protected under the LLC.
Yeah.
And you would be selling merch and stuff. So that's where your allowances and your income would be. To answer your question a little better, I think you can literally, this is how we did it, straight up. I'm going to be honest with you. Google, start an LLC. How do I start an LLC? Call your dad, bro. Yeah. Bet he knows. You know what I'm saying? Like, people know these things, and they're willing to help you. It just, like, it's really easy, just as simple as asking. Like, when I had absolutely no idea about it, I was just like, dude, that's another really good piece of advice. That's another thing I wanted to make sure I brought up. You can type anything into Google. It's true. I'm sorry, you can't.
So I've got 2 follow-up questions in regards to that. Yeah. Is this going to be something that's going to be a heavy blow on your wallet? Or is this something that's pretty manageable for somebody who's just starting out?
Sorry.
In regards to copywriting?
I don't think that I heard the first part of the question.
Is it expensive? Is it a heavy blow to the wallet?
It is affordable. It is like, it's probably as much as like a 3-day camping festival would be.
So it's an investment.
It's an
investment. Small investment.
Yeah, pretty small, for sure. For the ultimate scheme of things,
absolutely.
Yeah, pretty small.
So in regards to that, I mean, establishing kind of like a company name, as far as you're saying, for merchandise as an artist, an independent artist, having like your studio where you work under that studio, I guess would that be a better route for LLC versus just doing that over your DJ name?
You could definitely look into, I'm definitely no expert on businesses and LLCs.
I can take this.
You got it, bro? Yeah. For sure.
So a really cool thing, if you want to start on an affordable level, you could do what's called the DBA, and you can go through a company like LegalZoom. The thing with LegalZoom is that it makes things incredibly easy for you, but it charges you for that convenience. Separately, you can go onto the Secretary of State website through Texas, and you can file for a DBA. A DBA, what it does is it's called a do business as. And so instead of you representing yourself as Billy Bob Jones, instead you're saying, I'm representing myself as Billy Bob Jones Company. Right, whatever the name of your company is. As a DJ, I personally wouldn't recommend, or as an artist, I personally wouldn't recommend even going as far as getting a DBA, much less an LLC, until you get to the stage in where there's a potential risk for you for a potential like legal lawsuit, or for you to actually be selling merchandise or content that you need to protect yourself from in case somebody goes after you. So the cool part, okay, to elaborate, an LLC is very useful because it protects you against you being personally sued. The business will get sued or the name will get sued, but not you as an individual. That means that your business can go out of like, literally it could be like go out of business, but you might be perfectly fine. Your assets are perfectly fine. That's useful, let's say, in the context of if you're throwing festivals. Something happens, you know, a speaker falls on somebody's toe. Now they want to sue the company. They're not suing you. Very useful in that sense, right? Really depends on where you are in this stage and where you're going. If you're playing locally, if you know you're not even signing contracts and maybe you're getting paid under the table, I would hold back on getting an LLC simply because it's not necessary. At the point that somebody says, "Hey, we're interested in you as a brand, we're interested in you as an artist, and we want to develop you further," at that point, consider going the LLC route. Make sure that you're protected, that you're cutting your corners, and then at that point, you're signing on behalf of your company.
Basically, where there's money, I would say there's a need for an LLC. If you're getting paid a reasonable amount, if you're selling merch on top of being paid for your bookings, and you're kind of developing any sort of income through the music industry, yeah, I would say
An LLC could be useful, and then even before then, an LLC can range anywhere between $200 to $300 if you do it yourself, or if you do it through, like, once again, a company like LegalZoom. You could do something right before that. It's called a DBA. It does give you a certain amount of time. I believe it's between 6 to 9 months. Don't quote me on that. But a DBA allows you to say, hey, according to the state of Texas, I am not the person that's giving these services. Rather, it's this business that is doing these services, that is providing said product. So that can help for legal and tax implications, because then you can legally say, hey, this business started at this time, and this is the amount of revenue that came in, this is the type of interactions that occurred, and then there are certain tax benefits and write-offs that you get to claim as businesses. And then there's different benefits that you get through an LLC, through C Corp, through a variety of different types of business models or structures that you can file for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank you.
We're approaching the last couple minutes here, just under 8 minutes left of this workshop. I want to go into one thing that we've talked about. We've covered anything from mutually beneficial relationships to marketing to branding to DJing. What are some of the suggestions that you'd have for folks that that might be sitting at home saying, hey, I've never even touched DJing, I've never even touched a business as far as entertainment is concerned. What is the outstanding what is the pervading philosophy that you have before even starting any project? A lot of it comes from self-identity. Some folks aren't even there, they haven't even gone to that point. What do you think would be a good compass for them to follow?
So if you need to learn, let's say you just need to physically know how to DJ, let's take that for example. First of all, share space and these workshops. That'll help you a lot. Shameless plug. Once again, shout out.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, 100%. Come to this. It's here. Being around people, making friends, like I said, who are doing the same thing as you. So people that already know how to DJ, that you can spend time with, that are going to teach you how to DJ. YouTube. That's another obvious answer, bro. YouTube has taught me so many things. All it takes is time and YouTube, bro. There you go.
Yeah, and Google's a very powerful tool, guys. We live in a time in where I think maybe 30 years ago, you didn't know something and you might have to go to the library and pull out an encyclopedia. Now you can pull out your phone, and all of a sudden you have access to the largest database of knowledge that humanity has ever come across. And cats too. For the record, the point is that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of resources that you have at your disposal. So with that, I can't encourage enough that really try to get yourself involved in your local scene. Find out what the acclimate or the climate of your local scene is like. I would say that not only on behalf of Rowdy and myself, cultivate mutually beneficial relationships. Those can take you so much farther than just simply saying, what can I get? What can you give me out of this relationship? Rather, what can I provide? And what could I do? What could I do to help? I think that we're in a very special place, both Austin and Houston as a whole, and where we have incredible key players that are really watching out for the underground scene, that are really watching out for the better whole of everybody. And I think it's an incredible privilege, to be at this point I'm in place. A lot of the older folks that have been in this industry operated on a very different environment. And so I don't necessarily think that it's fair to always blame individuals for attitudes, but rather the systems in place that cultivated certain types of attitudes. So with that said, we're always happy to facilitate and to provide resources. ShareSpace is not only here in Houston, Texas. at Ava Center, but it's also in Austin.
Shout out Bianca.
Shout out Bianca for
There
her
you go.
efforts and her entire team that makes that happen. So there are opportunities, folks, for you guys to get involved in this scene, to make friends, to make connections, and more importantly, to do whatever it is that you want to do. Very cool. All right, I think we're approaching the last 4 minutes. If we have any other questions, now would be a good time. I'm no longer checking the stream, but go ahead.
Back to your Beyond Existence, the first year.
Awesome.
What was your like time frame with the whole festival setup? Like, when was a good time to get things running? When was a good time to start promo? And so forth.
So I want to say last year this was not enough time. Well, it was enough time because we pulled it off, but I wish we would have had more time in the beginning. So I think we went from like February, and then like the idea, like we started in February, and then like the show happened May 4th. You know what I'm saying? So that's like March, April, May. That's like 3 months. You know what I'm saying? Which is like tight for a festival, bro. Like that's crazy. Beyond Existence this year has been going like we started like the day after Beyond Existence happened the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't suggest writing a lineup and all that so early because there's so much is going to happen in a year and there's going to be all different sorts of things going on. But you can definitely start cultivating your ideas, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Just start getting things together. Start pulling your resources together, see who's interested in working on the next one. To pull off something like this, you got to be gathering money from investors like all year long. You know what I'm saying? To be able to pull off music festivals and stuff. So that's a huge thing that's just my job is just asking people for money. You know what I'm saying? Using other people's money to my advantage.
There's a lot to said about like having a team.
Oh, dude. No, I literally couldn't have done this. Like, it's not even me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's a main idea, which is it's important to know the main idea, but all the things that support. I mean, think of a story. You know what I'm saying? Every single word. If there was one word missing in a story, that part of the story, you like that sentence, you'd be like, that doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So just every word of the story has to be there if you want to think of it that way.
And the words are people.
The words are the people, yeah.
words are
The
people.
letters are the people,
Right,
you know?
Right,
Shit.
right. There's a lot of collaboration and a lot of assistance that needs to be done in order to put together any type of event. And so with that said, I always want to go back to that point of mutually beneficial relationships and collaboration. Things could not be possible without the people around them. I couldn't do this without my team. I couldn't do this without Rowdy. Rowdy couldn't do what he does without his team. So as a kind of like a final, nail in the coffin, in case that wasn't articulated well enough,
Right, for
is
real.
collaborations are key, relationships are key, mutually beneficial relationships are key. It is the way to survive in this environment where it is incredibly difficult, it is incredibly challenging, but fortunately, connecting with people that believe what you believe, that want to see the bigger image or big picture develop into its absolute potential, that's what we're here for. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and wrap up today. Let's give it one more round of applause for Rowdy. On behalf of myself, my team here at Pantheon Music Academy, thank you guys so much for coming. Next week, we are going to have a producer come in with us and share some tricks and trade of the music production industry. Tune in for workshop number 42. With that said, that's a wrap. Poop.
I'm gonna play some techno real quick now that we're done with this. This is slow techno.